All right. I have made the announcement.
And we're
About to
live.
do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're live.
Yo, everybody! How's it going? We are the live. How does it feel to be live, my friends? Are you happy?
Woo!
Are you excited?
I'm feeling pretty great.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
So, let's just, I guess, wait and on people to kind of roll in here for a minute. But yeah, how's everybody feeling?
You know,
Oh,
full of sin.
yup. This is fair. This is very, very fair. Well, I guess we should probably go ahead and introduce ourselves. Hi, my name is Brian. I am the head of audio things here at the KRWBY Productions, and I also voice Neptune for various things. And with me, I have who goes next. Who goes first.
That's
Somebody talk.
Me.
Mm.
It's all me.
Hell yeah.
Hi. I run the technical stuff behind the scenes. I'm Ian, in case you didn't know. I also help admin for the community Discord, so you can find me there. If you ever need to speak to us about anything, let me know. I'm all ears.
Hell yeah. Who goes next?
Me, probably.
Yup.
I am also here on this podcast, talking.
His name is Forrest. He does podcasty things.
That is what I do.
Hey, Katie, what do you do? What's your name?
Oh my god. Hi everybody. My name is Katie and I'm a girl on the internet. I go by Connie Day on a lot of places. I am a voice actress at KRWBY. I am a producer director boy at KRWBY. I have been a writer at KRWBY. I've been a podcast host at KRWBY. I've done pretty much a lot of the KRWBY things. Is a fair assessment of my KRWBY life. I'm one of the original peeps here, and I like to vibe, and I like to sin, and I also love anime. And heck, I do voice acty thingy bobber jigger whoosiums at Dr. Crafty on YouTube. I also do them. I also host another podcast called The Weird Flex, but okay podcast with my friend Jordan, who goes by Jack's Blade on the internet. We're coming back in about a month with new episodes, so that's pretty neat.
Hell yeah.
That's me. I like anime. Yay.
Yeah, I also like the anime. And Star, don't you worry. We're gonna be talking about SAO. Don't
God,
you
no.
worry.
Brian.
I know. I already know though.
Why would you do this to yourself?
You know, I
Again.
ask myself that question all the time. Yeah. But so tonight we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about some anime that we've been watching, or maybe not anime. But then we're also going to be talking about some sword art online, and then of course we're going to be talking about that good ReZero.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like we have a routine, a schedule even.
It's almost like we have segments.
Almost.
So, speaking of our first segment, how about we talk about what we've been watching? Hey guys, what you been watching? Who wants to go first in what they've been watching? Cool. I'm so glad that we were on point.
Yes.
Yes, nobody speak about.
Someone was raising their hands. We just couldn't see.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I
I'm
think.
clearly raising my hand, Brian. You asshole.
All right. Well, then how about you go first, Katie?
Oh, baby, I will. Hello, everybody. So, also, it's insensitive. It's insensitive of you to say I've been watching something. I've been listening to something, Brian.
Oh, okay. All right. This is fair. I am in the wrong here.
Yep.
Please set me.
So
set
if
me
you will
straight,
all
Katie.
turn your eyes to the screen, you will see there is a lovely Dungeons and Dragons podcast that exists on the YouTubes that I love so very much that I've been listening to recently, and I am now 20 episodes in a short span of time. Every episode of D&D podcasts are heckin' 4 hours long, so that tells you what my life is like. So I I really enjoy listening to D&D podcasts. I love listening to the Unexpectables. They're one of my favorites. I love Critical Role. They're one of my favorites. But today we're talking about Descent into Avernus, specifically the playthrough that Something Witty Entertainment is doing right now. They call it SWE&D. It's on their Something Witty gaming channel. I really, really recommend it. They also have a thing called Nat 19 that they do that's really cool, but I haven't listened much to that. But yes, Descent into Avernus. It is a wonderful D&D podcast that you can listen to, like put it on in the background. It's real cool. And if you're into Dungeons and Dragons in general, like I think you'll have a good time. But here's why I think if you're just into fun, creative storytelling in general, and maybe you don't know as much about D&D, or maybe both, here's why I think you would enjoy this podcast in particular. So every type of streamer or entertainer on the internet that's gotten their hand on D&D has done something special with it, like taken their own like creative twist, whether it's how they do the characters or how they're doing the story. And Descent into Avernus is a romantic comedy that takes place in hell. And I don't say that lightly. So the stars are Yamato SFX plays Haru, X Bubble Monkey X plays Jack, and then we have Zolgus, who's played by whatever his name is. Heck, he's another Something Witty dude. And then Laramie, who is a goddamn treasure, is played by Coffin Jockey, who is, I think, a member of the Schmuck Squad, or another abridged group, but also does a lot with Something Witty. Anyway, they're all very talented people. And the story kind of goes over an adventure that they're on where they have to go to hell for some reason. And the character dynamics are insanely hilarious because they are amazing performers. And so there's a love story happening between two of the main characters that they're playing. It's not an NPC love story. Oh no. It's two of our actors that are like putting on a very anime-esque love story situation where they're always blushing around each other and doing like rom-com bullshit where they can't like talk to each other or breathe whenever any of them does something cute. And like there's this whole build up to a confession, and one of them is like talking in between them trying to get them to confess to each other. And I personally love my anime rom-com bullshit, as you know. And so it brings me so much joy because there's also action-packed fights. But what I really enjoy about D&D podcasts are what they do with characters and funny bits and moments. And there's times where I just can't stop laughing at them. And also it's horny bullshit fun as well. And the plot points are really interesting too. It really picks up around episode 3. That's when things get like really cool because they don't start in hell, but I mean it's called Descent into Avernus, which is one of like the layers of hell, I believe. So like, you know, it's not a spoiler to say they're gonna go to hell, but
in the title.
like we all are, because we're all sinners. And
Yes.
so heck, that is kind of a way to describe Descent into Avernus, the SWE&D campaign, without getting into crazy spoilers. But I really recommend giving it a good old listen if you're looking for a new D&D podcast, or if you just really love like shenanigans and want to have shenanigans playing in the background that will every now and then cock your eyebrow. Do it.
I mean, if we're all going to hell, we may as well enjoy the ride down.
It's true.
Oh, 100%. So, hey, Ian, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What's you been watching?
Oh, shit. The one question I was expecting this week, and you know what? I think you're going to find this particular entry interesting because, you know what? It includes our people at Rooster Teeth.
Oh, really?
Yes, for those of us who are of Transformers fans out there, you may have noticed that there was a new series on Netflix. It was produced by Rooster Teeth.
Have heard
In
about
part.
it.
Yeah, Now, I have been an avid fan since almost birth. I love me some Optimus Prime, Megatron action. Not that kind of action. No, stop it, please.
No DeviantArt.
No
Whatever are
Deviant-
you talking about?
Starscream is an excellent foil for his arrogance and his pride. And this is a sort of an origin story for an origin story, because most people think about, oh, the Transformers, they leave their home planet of Cybertron, they crash land here on Earth, and their war that's been continuing for who knows how long begins anew here. That's not actually where we're starting. We're starting on Cybertron, and we're kind of at the end of a war that has decimated the entire planet, and the adventures that kind of ensue as what was a war on a grand scale comes to a slow, deafening halt. They say that the world's not going to go out with a bang. It's going to be a long, slow whimper. This is a sad story of kind of how it looks like when this world that used to be prosperous and beautiful is decimated. And you can see a lot of character development between Optimus Prime, who is developing as a leader, and Megatron, who used to be an honorable warrior, as he descends further, as he's trying to figure out how far he is willing to go to end this war. And that's what I've been watching, and it is definitely a little different for Transformers fans out there, because they're usually meant for kids. This is meant for teenagers and adults, for a higher plane, as it were. The voices might be a little different than what you expect. Some of the classic voices aren't there, but I find the story intriguing. Maybe that's just because I've been indoctrinated, but I loved it and I enjoyed it, and our people at RT are doing some good work there.
Hell yeah.
I have a question.
Go on.
Do they transform into things?
Yes.
Okay. That seems important.
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Been watching it find out, Katie.
Damn, you're right.
That's the
Hell
thing you
yeah.
could do.
Hey,
So, Hey, Forrest.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah. How about you regale us with the tale of what you've been watching?
Or
What
listening
have I
to.
been watching? Or listening
We're
to?
listening to.
Or absorbing subconsciously through the... to say that I have been watching or listening to a thing this week that isn't the show that we're watching currently would be inaccurate. I have not, actually. But I watched a thing a few weeks ago that I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
I watched the play on recommendation from a friend. I watched the play. It was on Disney Plus. Hamilton.
Ooh.
It's a musical. They sing about some stuff. There's some rapping. There's some gun battles. Like, it's exciting. If you haven't watched it, it's on Disney Plus. It's worth watching. This is coming from someone who A, does not particularly like rap, and B, does not particularly like musicals. This has both of those things. I liked it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
real
just
good.
saying.
Well, like, I'm also not a huge fan of rap, but I knew that I was like a
It's
fan
hype.
of Lin-Manuel Miranda's like rap style after I watched In the Heights.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, In the
I want
Heights.
to, though.
I will point out I've only seen In the Heights because of because my high school did it. Like, I want to say my senior
Oh.
year or something like that. In the Heights is a fantastic show.
Ooh, I need to see it.
And so I still haven't seen Hamilton, and I won't lie. Like, once I heard that Hamilton was on Disney Plus, I was like, shit. Like, that's the most I've ever wanted to like. That's the most I've ever been tempted to actually get Disney Plus because I really want to see Hamilton.
It's and when tickets are so prohibitively expensive, sometimes
Yeah.
They're ridiculous.
It's very good. I have been playing the soundtrack at my work nonstop since.
So you have been listening to something.
Well, did I do it this week? I
Ho-ho!
guess. Okay, that's true. That's true. You got me.
Got him.
Hey,
But yes.
Brian,
Yeah.
what you been watching?
Yeah.
I've been watching some stuff. I have a tale for y'all.
Oh
I'm
God.
scared.
I've been watching a certain scientific railgun tea.
Yes.
For once, this is a show we're not watching together.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are those words even?
All right, so let me explain the Toaru franchise.
Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it again.
No, wait. You've already got one series you're explaining, Brian. Don't.
So the Toaru series might be the longest series I've ever invested in. There's a lot of stuff in it. So in the beginning, there was this little show called A Certain Magical Index. And basically it involves this guy named Toma, and he comes to this place called Academy City, which is like a home for people who are like espers. They've got like supernatural powers, but they're being treated in kind of like a scientific manner. And his right hand has the ability to like nullify these powers, and they don't really know why. And all the espers are rated on a classification scale of level 0 through level 5. He's classified as level 0. He meets this girl in robes, like religious robes, named Index. And she tells him that magic exists outside of the scientific esper stuff, and shenanigans ensue, and he kind of winds up just going around Academy City and helping out a bunch of people. So that was the main series, but within that series there was a character named Misaka Mikoto, who was a very, very popular character among the fan base. And she was so popular that they actually went and made a spin-off series about her called A Certain Scientific Railgun. And I can't speak for the entire fan base, but it seems that the general consensus is that the spin-off, A Certain Scientific Railgun, is better than the original series of Index.
I can tell you by watching the shows alone, you're not wrong.
No, it's I've only seen one season of Index thus far, but I am up to date on Railgun, and just based off the first season of Index, I'm like, yeah, Railgun's better. Now, I will say that this series is really interesting because, or the whole franchise is kind of interesting because you wind up kind of going back and forth between both Index and Railgun, because both of them will have their own stuff that they do, but then they'll also cover the same events from different perspectives. Like something in Index will be covered from Toma's perspective, and then something in Railgun will be covered from Misaka's perspective.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, could you not hear me?
Oh, no, you cut out for a sec, but it's all good.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so now here's the thing, right? So I've been watching the current season, which is A Certain Scientific Railgun T, and at this point in time, I would say that I am a fan of the series. I really enjoy Railgun, and I really enjoy, I think, the Tawado franchise as a whole. I think it's really cool to be able to kind of see the same event animated twice from different perspectives and get different like context for it between the two different shows. But I will admit that I do kind of have a difficult time recommending this series to people.
Yeah, it's a hard ask.
Yeah. And the reason why is I started Railgun a few months ago, and I gotta say I was not a fan of the first season of Railgun. It was kinda rough.
It got better, but it was rough.
Yeah, it was kinda rough. And the only thing that pushed me through was that I had like a recommended watch order that was like, watch the first 2 seasons of Railgun, and then watch the first season of Index, and then watch the 3rd season of Railgun. And it was like, there was like this whole recommended watch order to like preserve the mystery of the show the best. And so I remember finishing the first season of Railgun and being like, well, maybe I can just push through the 2nd season, and just because I'm curious about Index. I want to push through the 2nd season so that I can get to Index. And I remember my heart sank when I realized that the first arc of the 2nd season, A Certain Scientific Railgun S, was about clones. And now, I don't know about you guys, I have a pet peeve about clones.
Oh my god.
What, did you read Spider-Man the Clone Saga and Blanche?
Is this something about the second Star Wars?
Like, my biggest pet peeve by far for clone type stuff is that fucking trope of like, no, I'm the real one, shoot that one. I can't stand that shit. It drives me insane. And so when I realized that Railgun S was going to be about clones, I was like, oh no, don't do this. But I have to say, the name of that arc is the Sisters arc. I have to admit, it is one of the better executed clone things I have seen. And they didn't do the fucking trope of like, no, shoot that one.
No, they do not. They don't even go near that that
No,
subject
they don't
matter.
even go near that.
That's
Yeah.
not even in question.
Yeah. And so I think the Sisters arc was, for me, the turning point with the show where I was like, okay, like, I'm actually enjoying this. Like, I'm having a good time with this. It's definitely not perfect. I would never claim that Railgun has ever been perfect. Or that anything in this franchise that I've seen has ever been perfect. But Railgun T, I definitely think, is a huge step up. I really, really enjoyed the first arc of Railgun T, and now that we're getting into the second arc, I really enjoyed that too. Also, just as a random nerdy note, the sound editorial and the sound mixing in this show is fantastic. So, yeah. While I have a hard time recommending this show, I would say for anybody out there who's maybe been curious about this franchise, because there is a lot of it. For anybody out there who's maybe curious about this franchise, I would really only recommend it if you are maybe more of a hardcore anime fan and you're used to more tropey anime. And I would only recommend it to people who have a lot of patience to wait for things to get better.
Well, Brian, we're all stuck at home most of the time right now, so I think people have that time, so long as they have the patience to get through the required material to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, so that's... Anyways, yeah, that's a certain scientific railgun T. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and if y'all motherfuckers out there are patient, maybe you can enjoy it too.
Now, Brian, normally at this point we transition to the next thing, but I actually have a question for you.
Oh, all right.
Have you heard the good news?
I think I have heard
Oh,
the good
yeah. I
news.
think I shared with him the good news.
Yes, I have heard
Would
the
you
good
like
news.
to share the good news? Because you definitely took this harder than anybody else when it happened, and I think that if you've heard the good news, you should probably share it.
So, for anybody who is not aware, a while back, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid was kind of put on. It was confirmed for a second season, but then after the Kyoani arson attack, it was kind of put on indefinite hiatus because the director unfortunately passed away in the fire. And so the future of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid was kind of really up in the air. But I believe it was today, Kyoani officially announced that Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid will be returning for its second season in 2021.
Yay!
And I am oh so very excited. I'm really curious to see people's reactions to some of the things that come later in the story. Because I've read ahead in the manga, and there's a character that gets introduced, and I think you can actually see
Yes,
her.
you can see a mysterious character we have yet to meet in the background of the poster.
Yeah, in the background of the new key visual. And it'll be interesting seeing people's reactions to this character, because on the one hand, I was actually like going back through today and just kind of looking over some of the manga and kind of like refreshing my memory of this character. But all I can say is this character definitely brings the lewd.
Again?
Yeah, and so I overall like I said, I like what they do with this character. I think overall, especially with her introduction. But it will be interesting seeing people's reactions to that new character because of, I think a lot of people. I mean, it's not like there weren't already lewd elements in the show, but
Are you saying the show has sin, Brian?
oh, the show definitely has sin.
Damn
But like
I
it will
haven't finished the first season, so I don't know.
But yeah, it will be interesting kind of seeing people's reactions because while the show was definitely like had its ludity before, this character I think is really gonna come in and dial it to a 10, and it'll be interesting seeing if that maybe clashes with people's like preconceptions of the show being, you know, this really wholesome like story about family, which it still is. It just becomes a much lewder, wholesome story about family after this character arrives.
Lewder, wholesome. Yes, that's
Hey, they can coexist.
If the quintessential quintuplets has taught me anything.
Damn
Oh,
straight.
no. Let's not go there today.
Not today, but maybe next week.
That show is just something else.
Such a beautiful display of sin.
That show is such a beautiful train wreck.
All
All
right,
right, Brian, feel free. I'm gonna call my
So-
therapist in the meantime while I wait for you to go through this.
So,
Prepare yourselves.
hey guys, you know what time it is.
Oh.
Time to talk about our boy Kirito.
Oh no!
Make it stop, please. Somebody stop him. Tara,
too
if you're
late.
there, make him stop.
I will say, thankfully, this recap is going to be shorter than last week's.
Thank God.
It's shorter than last week's, just a little bit longer than the Aincrad one. So, good kind of middle ground there. But yeah, so, I guess we should just get into it. Hello, friends. Today, I will be recapping Sword Art Online, Season 2, Arc 1, the Phantom Bullet Arc, aka Gun Gale, aka the best one. Our
Debatable.
story begins a full year after the SAO incident and 10 months after the events of Alfheim, when Kirito is suddenly summoned by a member of the Japanese government. The man who summoned him is named Seijiro Kikoka, and he is a member of, I shit you not, the VR Crimes Division.
Look, fam,
I mean,
that's not
After
entirely
the
out
whole
of the
incident.
question at this point.
And he requests, with the incentive of a large sum of money, that Kirito investigate some rumors circulating within a game called Gun Gale Online, or GGO for short. Now, GGO is a stark contrast from the other settings we've seen in the series thus far. GGO is a dark, dystopian cyberpunk setting where everyone fights with guns and energy weapons rather than swords and shields. It's also rather controversial because you can convert credits from the game into real-world money. For the life of me, I don't know how that works, but apparently that's a thing.
Microtransactions.
Holy shit.
Reverse microtransactions. But anyways, supposedly there's a dude running around the game, and he calls himself Death Gun.
Hell yeah.
And if you
as
think,
opposed to the not death gun.
as opposed to the not Death Gun. And if you're thinking, wow, that's a really stupid and on-the-nose name, we're not done yet. Reki isn't very good at coming up with names, especially in this arc. Because not only is this character's name Death Gun, the gun he uses is also named Death Gun.
Oh my god.
Well, Brian, aren't weapons supposed to be an extension of the self?
You know, there's an extension of the self, and then there's plagiarism of the self.
Okay, fair enough. Go on.
In any case, the rumor goes that Death Gun has used his Death Gun to kill 2 high-level players within the game, who then immediately died in real life. Hey, that sounds familiar. Is this perhaps an attempt at restoring the show's stakes that were utterly destroyed in Alfheim? I think it is. Spoiler alert, it does not work. But anyways, long story short, this Death Gun guy is potentially bad news and he needs to be investigated. And this is where the majority of the problems in Gun Gale lie. You might be wondering, why don't they figure out what this guy's username is and just trace his IP? Well, apparently GGO is an American-run game and the Americans are not cooperating. Now, granted, I don't know that much about IP tracing, but somehow I don't think that would be that much of a hurdle.
Look, man, if you just use ExpressVPN, I think you're screwed.
Also, this is the second time that Reki Kawahara paints Americans out to be slightly villainous. He did this once before in Alfheim, and I skipped over it in my recap. And as we keep recapping more of the show, you will see that he continues to do this. And it's not that I have a particular problem with Americans being painted as the villain, but the frequency at which he does it makes me wonder if Reki Kawahara maybe has some feelings on America.
Look, it's not to say that we're not assholes. It's just to say I think he has the opinion that he should paint us as assholes more often than not.
Very, very true. In any case, because of Kirito's experience with VR games, he has been chosen to investigate Death Gun and stop him if he exists. This is a game of tactical warfare, mind you. And they didn't decide to send in any detectives that one would supposedly have in a VR crimes division, who are no doubt trained in the proper ways of conducting a high-level investigation. They didn't decide to send in any members of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, who are trained soldiers who would probably feel perfectly at home in a game about guns. No! They decide to send in a fucking teenager who saved some people by stabbing a guy in a video game one time, and by all rights should have PTSD from the things he's experienced. The amount of suspension of disbelief that's required for the premise of this arc to make sense is so overwhelming that you could fill a swimming pool with that shit. So now, armed with his mission that he shouldn't have been given, Kirito converts his character from Alfheim to GGO. And don't even get me started on the fucking character conversion system. Jesus Christ, it's so horrendously broken. But that's not an issue with the Phantom Bullet arc per se. That's just a general SAO problem.
Look, man, hacks.
So Kirito arrives in the game, and here's the stupid thing about the way these VR games work. There's no avatar customization, which for the life of me I do not understand. You've created full dive VR technology where the whole selling point is that players can be anyone and do anything, and you don't give them control over how they look? That's just bad game design! Now, why do I bring this up? Because Kirito was assigned a random avatar that makes him look like a girl. Or, supposedly it makes him look like a girl, because when he meets people, they all just assume he's a girl. But really, it just looks like the same old Kirito with long hair. That's it. He just has long hair now. It's long-haired Kirito. Now, you're probably wondering, Brian, we've heard a lot about Kirito, but it's a new arc. And as we all know, all the waifus that Kirito collects stay in their respective arcs, while Kirito moves on, leaving them his historical relics, never again to be seen in any capacity of importance. So, isn't Kirito in need of a new waifu? Yes, he is. And he meets her almost immediately after entering GGO. Her name is Sinon, and unbeknownst to Kirito at this time, Sinon has some complicated reasons for playing GGO. You see, when she was a small child, she was at a bank when it got robbed at gunpoint. She wound up wrestling with the robber, and in the ensuing scuffle, she shot him dead. And perhaps understandably as a result of this event, she has a mild case of utterly crippling PTSD that sends her into panic attacks so extreme that she vomits if anyone so much as forms a gun shape with her hands, which bullies at her school do to her regularly. God, I hate children. So she starts playing GGO as a form of exposure therapy to try to get over her fear of guns. But an interesting thing happened. Within the virtual world, when she's playing as Sinon, guns don't scare her. In fact, she's a renowned sniper and known as one of the best players in the game. But when she returns to the real world, so too do her fear of guns. And it's for this reason that she sees her real-life persona, Shino Asada, as almost a completely separate person to Sinon. And Shino Asada longs to be Sinon and have her strength, despite the fact that she's the same person. Which, credit where credit is due, is a cool character idea. Good job, Reki. You came up with a waifu idea that wasn't either cookie cutter or incestual. Congratulations! One would think that that wouldn't be a high bar, but here we are. So upon meeting Kirito, Sinon, like everyone else, assumes that Kirito is a girl. And Kirito, who has been getting hit on left and right since he arrived, decides not to correct her because he's worried that she'll think he's hitting on her and won't want to help him. And I can't speak for the English dub, but Kirito's Japanese voice actor Yoshitsugu Matsuoka is incredible and is actually able to put on a pretty good androgynous voice.
Damn.
In any case, Kirito informs Sinon that he intends to participate in GGO's biggest event, which is about to happen. And that event is called Bullet of Bullets. I told you we weren't done with the bad names.
No.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ricky Cowherd probably needs to hire a consultant just to give him better names.
Bullet of Bullets is a battle royale that will decide who the best player in GGO is. And Kirito figures that Death Gun will be participating because it's a large stage where he can kill people in front of the world. So he intends to participate as a way of finding Death Gun. And of course, Sinon also intends to participate. But there's one little problem. Kirito doesn't have any equipment yet. So, Sinon takes him to a weapons shop where they peruse all kinds of crazy weapons that would make for awesome action scenes that would be wildly different from any kind of action we'd ever seen before in SAO. Do you want to take a guess at what kind of weapon Kirito chooses?
Is it a knife?
He
A
chooses
sword?
a sword!
God damn it.
He chooses a fucking sword! And not just any kind of sword, a photon sword, which is a non-copyrighted way of saying lightsaber. Kirito fights in this arc with the fucking lightsaber. Lightsaber sound effects and all.
Oh my god. Kirito.
Welcome to Star Wars.
He brings a sword to a gunfight.
He brings a motherfucking sword to a gunfight. A legally distinct lightsaber sword from a gun to a gunfight.
Legally distinct.
So after gearing up, Kirito and Sinon go register for the tournament. Then just before the preliminary round starts, Sinon changes in front of Kirito, still thinking he's a girl. Kirito gets flustered, reveals he's actually a guy, apologizes, and he promptly gets bitch slapped, as he deserved. And now Sinon hates him. And Kirito goes into his first match, defeats his opponent, and blows the audience away with his ability to deflect bullets with his lightsaber. He then returns with his head held high, but then he runs into Death Gun. He doesn't immediately know it's Death Gun, but he reaches that conclusion pretty fast, as a loose bandage on Death Gun reveals that he's a former member of Laughing Coffin, the murder guild in SAO. Which causes me to hit pause for just a moment and ask a question. How? Doesn't the government have a list of all the Laughing Coffin members, which it's revealed later that Death Gun is on? Why aren't all the Laughing Coffin members serving jail time? How is this guy a free man? Like I said, you could fill a swimming pool with the amount of suspension of disbelief. But that's not the only stupid thing that's revealed in this scene. it's revealed that while in SAO, Kirito was part of a raid on Laughing Coffin in which he killed 2 people. And he has PTSD over it, apparently. And now, if you're sitting there and going, well, wait a minute, I don't remember that happening in Aincrad. That's because it didn't! Remember earlier when I said that by all rights, Kirito should have PTSD for some of the things he's experienced in the game? Well, apparently, Reki Kawahara thought so too, just an arc and a half late. So, he retcons in this Laughing Coffin bullshit that by all rights should have been in the Aincrad arc, and gives the flimsy excuse that Kirito had completely blocked this memory out of his mind until he came face to face with Death Gun. And why did Reki decide to give him PTSD? For one reason and one reason only, and that's so that he could sympathize with Sinon and go, yeah, man, I've been there too. Ugh. It's bad. It's really bad. Alright, now we're getting into the main tournament, and the tournament is mostly action, so we're gonna rocket through this. Despite hating him for pretending to be a girl, Sinon agrees to a temporary alliance with Kirito during the tournament. Deathgun kills a guy, and Kirito reveals to Sinon what his true mission is. It also dawns on them that Sinon might be a potential target, but despite that, Sinon still insists on helping Kirito. However, when she finds herself at the mercy of Deathgun and is faced with the prospect of actual death, Sinon reverts back into Shino while still within the game. In order to get the two of them out of danger, as well as to give Shino time to calm down and return to being her mentally strong Sinon, they run off and take refuge in a desert cave. Within the cave, Sinon opens up about her past and her struggle with PTSD, and Kirito opens up about his past in SAO and his retconned PTSD involving Laughing Coffin. Also, the entire time that Sinon is opening up about her incredibly real and difficult issues with PTSD, the camera cannot seem to look away from her ass.
God damn it.
And now, in fairness to the camera, it is a very impressive ass, thigh gap and all. But while the girl is spilling about her deepest insecurities and struggles, it's perhaps not the most polite or thematically relevant time to be checking her out. Anyways, it is also during this conversation that they come to the conclusion that it's impossible to kill someone in the real world from within the game. Therefore, Deathgun must have a partner in the real world who's watching the live stream and killing players in real life while Deathgun shoots them, or when Deathgun shoots them. This, of course, brings up the terrifying prospect that someone could be in Sinon's room at that very moment, waiting to kill her when the time is right. Which, of course, begs the question: how did 2 mere players discover the real-life identities and addresses of other major players, but the government had to hire a teenager to figure out who Deathgun is?
Suspension of disbelief.
So with most of the other players eliminated, Kirito and Sinon go out and work together to bring down Deathgun. And in the ensuing battle, which turns into a sword fight, Kirito remembers Deathgun's real name, which somehow means he doesn't have PTSD anymore? So now he's just the same old Kirito again. No character development or nothing. And they defeat Deathgun, and now Kirito and Sinon are the only 2 players left in the tournament. They have a talk. Kirito is concerned for her, and he wants to drop by to make sure she's okay. She says that won't be necessary because she has a friend coming. So Kirito instead suggests sending his friend from the government to go check on her. She agrees and gives him her real name and address, and then they both commit suicide by grenade and become joint victors in the Bullet of Bullets tournament. Shino logs out and wakes up in the real world, and then her friend arrives. And the friend was actually established earlier on in the arc, but I skipped over him because he doesn't do anything important until right now. It turns out her friend is Deathgun's third hand. And he's always been in love with Shino. And tonight, he decides that he's going to take her by force. Yay, sexual assault.
God damn it.
Sure hope there isn't any more of that in the series.
God damn it.
Spoiler
So
alert.
we hoped.
There's more. There's a lot more.
I hate him.
But just as he's about to have his way with her, who barges in? not the dude from the government. It's Kirito! Because apparently he didn't respect Sinon's wishes. But he's here to save her, so that makes it okay, right? Anyways, Kirito fights Shino's friend and gets injected with a liquid from a syringe, but he's saved by an electrode on his chest that he forgot to take off. And he was wearing this electrode because he was diving into the game from a hospital for safety reasons? I don't know. And the only reason I bring this up is because this particular electrode just became very important again in Alicization. My god, I can't wait to talk about Alicization.
Oh,
Don't
no.
spoil it. I'm not caught up.
But Kirito beats the bad guy. Everyone involved in the death gun thing gets arrested, and everything is hunky-dory. Kirito's development was retconned and regressed only to return to the exact same place that he started at the beginning of the arc. And Sinon kinda gets over her PTSD. She's able to hold fake guns now, and she uses one to intimidate her bullies, but she's still not completely over it yet, which I think is actually pretty realistic. It's just not entirely clear what caused her to improve. I can't really think of a key moment where things changed for her, but I think we can all agree that probably, somehow, it was all Kirito's doing. Speaking of Kirito, Kirito invites Shino to Tiffany's bar to meet with Asuna and Lisbeth. And he reveals that he just straight up told them about Shino's past and her PTSD, which is a major dick move. That's really private information. You're a shitty friend, Kirito. But it turns out he did this because he needed their help to track down a woman who worked at the bank the day that Shino shot that dude dead. And then that woman and her child come out of the back to thank Shino for what she did, which I get is supposed to try and help Shino feel less guilty about killing a man, and it is implied that it works. But still, what the fuck, Kirito? Did you ever stop to consider how Shino might feel about this? Did you ever consider asking her if she was ready to confront someone else who is involved in that incident? That extremely traumatic incident that left her drastically changed the course of her life and left her crippled with post-traumatic stress disorder? Go fuck yourself, Kirito!
Damn.
That's the end of the Gun Gale arc.
Yay!
Thank God.
Yay!
How many more arcs do we have? I think another 2?
We have, we've got the really fast one that's like the Excalibur arc, that's like
And
only
then Mother's Rosario.
episodes, and then Mother's Rosario, which I think I can form that into one because of how short Excalibur is.
Yeah,
Um,
Excalibur's fairly simple.
Yeah, and then after that, it's on to Alicization.
God.
Mhm.
Can
Oh.
I a level with you guys for
Please.
for a minute?
Sure.
I unironically really love Gun Gale.
Oh my god, Brian!
I really, really like Gun
Are
Gale.
you saying that Sinon is your waifu, Brian?
Yes. You,
Wow.
You jest. Sinon is my favorite character in all of SAO.
Oh.
Does it have anything to do with her having the most characterization of any of the characters?
I was about to say. So
She is
here's
really cute.
here's the thing about Sinon. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I think Sinon is like a well-written character, but from her conception, she is a really good character build. And to be honest, the execution on her isn't that terrible. Like, in my opinion, I think if you tweaked just a couple of things, her character arc would be truly, legitimately a well-written character arc. So yeah, like by far, she's the most like non-cookie cutter waifu. She's not incestual.
Yep.
That helps.
And like, yeah, like she actually has a real like hurdle to get over that she does get over that isn't incest. So like I think that she brings a lot to the arc. And I think it's really, really interesting that so many people say that like Gun Gale was the thing that made them decide to drop SAO. Because I won't ever deny that like I wouldn't say it's not a mess because it is. Like there's no part of SAO that isn't a mess. But like it is, I think, the most fun mess in pretty much all of SAO. Like I remember I when I was rewatching Gun Gale to do the recap, I kept forgetting that I was supposed to be paying attention to like problems that I could make fun of, and was just kept finding myself like getting engrossed and just really enjoying watching the show. So I think that maybe the reason why so many people were like Gun Gale was that turning point where they were like, I can't do this show anymore, was probably because Alfheim left off on such a horrible note, and left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I think that maybe when the second season came around, everybody was hoping that like the second season would rectify a lot of the issues in the first season, and Gun Gale proved that that wasn't going to happen. I think that's probably the best explanation that I have for why so many people dropped SAO after Gun Gale, because I personally am over here like Gun Gale is my favorite. Like it's a train wreck, but it's a really good time. As long as you're willing to like, I guess,
Sell your soul.
As long as you're, I think that for me at least, I can understand people being really frustrated with SAO if they genuinely want SAO to be good, right? Like if they're in that camp of like they watched it from the beginning and they saw like the potential of what SAO could be and were just so wholeheartedly disappointed when it wasn't that, and it just really wasn't as good as they were hoping it to be. I think a lot of people felt kind of really like butthurt and betrayed by that, which is totally fair. And so like every time for those people, every time the show does something stupid, it just like, it's not funny, it's just like frustrating and sad because they really want it to be good and it's not. And I think that I personally really enjoy SAO, so long as you're willing to just give in to the fact that it's not good, that it's, that it's bad, and just enjoy it for the train wreck that it is.
That's how I feel about the Demon King.
Yeah, exactly.
Demon King Academy.
Exactly, yeah. Like, as long as you're willing to just kind of give yourself over to the fact that it's not good, not expect it to be good, and not even really want it to be good. I think as long as you look at it from that perspective, SAO is a really fun show.
Have no expectations. It's good.
Just turn your brain off. There's a switch in there somewhere. Just find
just go
it,
to monkey
flick it
brain
off,
mode
and then
and-
watch it, and you'll enjoy it a whole lot more.
And then go watch the Abridged series.
Yes, and then go watch SAO Abridged.
So, Brian, there are a couple arcs we need to cover with that you're gonna probably cover next time. Are you going to cover? Will you confirm or deny Gun Gale Online Alternative and or the movie?
I probably will not cover. I mean, I'm sure I could. I mean, I would fucking rip the Ordinal Scale movie apart. That movie's so bad.
I mean, that's kind of the point.
But I don't. In the interest of trying to get to covering Alicization War of Underworld Part 2 weekly sooner, I don't think that I'll cover Ordinal Scale. I maybe later down the line we'll have like a one-off where I do one for Ordinal Scale.
Or maybe when Alicization stops airing.
Yeah, maybe after Alicization is done. As far as GGO Alternative, the problem with GGO Alternative is that like GGO Alternative isn't perfect, but it's far from a train wreck. Like it's not. It's not written by Reki Kawahara. It's written by a much more competent writer.
Savage.
Damn.
So, like I said, it's not perfect, but there's just it would be a lot harder to dig into and really kind of make fun of a GGO alternative, because for the most part it's like it's just a pretty okay show. I think it gets maybe a little weird towards the end, but I actually really enjoyed GGO alternative because it did a lot of things within the SAO universe that I've kind of always wished would be done with it, and Reki Kawahara just hasn't.
That's fair. That's
So,
perfectly fair. But since we're on the topic, I just wanted to ask those questions. That's it.
but yeah. So, anyways, I hope that was fun. I just ripped into GGO, which is randomly a thing that I really like. But yeah, I hope that was a good time for y'all. And next
That
week
was great.
we'll be talking about Excalibur and Mother's Rosario.
And now it's time for some ReZero mayhaps.
Yup. Now I think it is time
for the meat and potatoes.
Good ReZero. So let's get that shit pulled up. So obviously, for anybody here who has not seen the latest episode of ReZero, spoilers.
Spoilers.
We're gonna be talking about the latest episode of ReZero. We're talking about ReZero Season 2, Episode 5, A Step Forward. So,
Which is kind of ironic considering how this episode goes.
Yeah, a little
We're
bit.
calling it a step forward? Well, it's like 2 steps back, 1 step forward? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So the episode opens, and of course, as you remember, we left off with Subaru coming face to face with Echidna in his school classroom within his memories. And
she confirms that too at this point. Like we were talking last week, like, oh, maybe this was like an alternate version of his memories, like it's all in his head. She pretty much says that this is a recreation that she made based on his memories.
Right. Yeah, but this is an illusion.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's this is an illusion that she created, and I kind of love this little like dynamic that they have of how Subaru continues to keep subverting Echidna's expectations. Like she keeps expecting him to be scared. Like she keeps expecting him to be like angry at her, and he always does the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
That's very intriguing.
I think one thing that I said during it was like the only thing that shocks her is earnestness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he thanks her, right?
Yeah.
For giving him the opportunity to, even though he's not talking to his real parents, right? He's like talking to fake memory versions. He still gets that closure, at least for himself, of having said the things he never got to say to them.
Exactly.
Right? Before being carted off into this alternate dimension kind of thing. And I don't know what she was expecting him to do. Maybe be upset, be angry, cry about it or something. He's like, no, thank you, actually. That was
cathartic.
She's like, I can't read you.
You are a strange person.
Which he thanks her for complimenting him in that way, if I recall.
Yeah. So, in that regard, she also lets slip some information. There are 3 questions that need to be answered in order to pass the trial, and because of this like whole memory thing, Subaru has passed the first, and we don't really know the specifics of the question. All we know is that basically he had to face his past, and that was the trial. And so Subaru is released from the trial, but as he's being released from the trial, he declares to Echidna that he's not going to be the one to set the sanctuary free. It's going to be Emilia. And Subaru returns and comes to next to Emilia. And this next little bit, I don't know about you guys, I thought it was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rough,
a rough scene.
It was rough.
Well, honestly, Amelia's like her. I don't know if it's actual character development at this point, but her entire role in this episode was very like pulling at the heartstrings because
Yeah.
she's clearly had like whatever trial she's going through, and I don't know if she's doing like the first. We can assume maybe that the first of these trials is like revisiting your past and like kind of coming to terms with
I think it's
how you got here.
I think it's safe to assume that she's going through the same trial that Subaru is, and she's having to face her past.
Yeah.
So he got to like say goodbye to his parents and everything, and like kind of try to explain to them how he felt.
Yeah.
Whatever she's going through is some heavy stuff.
Yeah. She's straight up panicking. She's screaming that it wasn't her, and she's calling out to her father and Puck, which I think is the same person.
Yeah, because Puck does say, like, I'm your father.
Yeah.
I think, he refers to her as... Puck refers to her as his daughter, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least at some point.
Yeah, and I definitely have some theories on maybe what she was seeing based on the freaking I always forget the name of it. The Frozen Bonds.
Frozen Bond, yeah.
Within the Frozen Bonds film, for anybody who hasn't seen it, the Frozen Bonds film does center around at least a certain part of Amelia's past. It's really cool because I love Subaru as a character. Don't get me wrong. Subaru is nowhere in Frozen Bond. It's 100% Amelia and Puck. And it basically centers around her time back before she met Rosewall and was taken in at the Rosewall Manor and, became, Emilia Sama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's living in the forest alone with Puck. And there's a nearby village that's terrified of her because of her resemblance to the witch. And within the forest, there are... she was encased in ice, and then there are a bunch of, like, frozen statues of people that she lives around and kind of, like, maintains. And, I'm very much given the impression that somehow Emilia did something that kind of like froze all the other elves. That's kind of my best guess as to what happened and what she's screaming about, going, no, it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just pure speculation.
There is elf girl / grandma / the other elf character we've now been introduced to formally.
Yeah.
So clearly not all of the elves are...
Well, at least all of the elves that were in that forest with her.
Okay, yeah. And and it's also the... I suppose because she's presumably like a half-elf, right? This new character we met. God, I can't remember her name. Ryuzu? Was that it?
Yeah.
The pink-haired girl?
Yeah.
Bilma, yeah.
Yeah, and we shouldn't talk too much about, like, the movie and stuff, because don't want too many spoilers for people of the stuff that's not just in this episode, but...
Right, no, I was just talking about kind of based on the movie, my it really has nothing to do with the plot of... like, they hint at some things, but it really has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. The movie is really a story about Puck and Amelia and their relationship.
Yeah, and it's real cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so at least with that, yeah, so the lolly elf girl shows up, Ryuzu Bilma, and apparently she represents the community within the sanctuary, and is apparently old and frail.
As you can tell
As you
from
can
her
obviously
sprightly
tell.
appearance.
Of course.
And she's definitely, we're kind of given the impression that, like, she's someone that you kind of have to be a little wary of, because Rom warns Subaru not to make any unnecessary comments around her.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And Ryuzu also makes an interesting comment that I don't really know what it means yet, but she turns to Subaru and goes, "Ah, and you're Barasu, which makes you young Sue." And he's like, and Subaru's like, "Wait, what?" And then that just gets passed over.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about that particular comment, if not now, but at the end of the episode.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyways, Ryuzu basically talks about the fact that mixed bloods can't leave the sanctuary because the barrier will separate their soul from their body, aka they'll die.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, because Otto has the like, oh, I figured it out. We're gonna get people out. We'll just have the non-half-breed people carry them. That'll be perfect.
Yeah.
You're like, nope, that'll kill us all.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awkward.
And then so after that conversation there, Subaru decides to stay by Amelia's side as she sleeps. And
it's cute.
it's really, that scene is really cute. Like,
She wakes up and reaches for him, and she's like, "Oh gosh, I didn't mean to do that." And it's like, "Yes, you did, bitch. You love him. You like him. He makes you feel safe. Admit it."
Like, that was a really cute scene, but she also kind of seems reluctant to return to undergo the trial, which, I mean, considering how panicked she was before is fair.
Yeah, well, I think this is the first time, because we've seen Amelia mad. We've seen her upset. We've seen her, laughing. We've seen a variety of it. This is the first time, I think, we've seen her terrified.
Yeah.
Like, when she's on the floor of the temple thing, like, having her going through the trial, and, like, Subaru's holding her, like, the look on her face is terror.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, full on.
So, I can't imagine that she'd want to. Oh wait, I get to do it again. Great.
Until I get it right this time. Lovely.
And I think
yes.
And I think one of the things that's like really, I guess, kind of heartbreaking, right, is the fact that she is calling out to Puck, and as was established a few episodes ago, Puck is just nowhere to be found right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he's busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's missing, and I'm sure he'll turn up again eventually. Like, nobody seems to be thinking that he won't, but it's kind of like really heartbreaking, and that in this moment where like she's calling out to Puck, like he's not there.
No.
So
we're not really sure why.
Yeah, it's not clear why yet, because like we saw Puck, because like Puck has that conversation with Subaru in the first episode of the season, right, where he's like, "I need you to do me a favor, Subaru. Like, I need you to take care of Amelia for me," and then he just disappears, and we just haven't seen him since.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Puck might be in on something with Rosewall, which we'll get into that whole thing.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a
God, yeah.
Hey, if you thought you couldn't trust the gesture-looking guy, hey, you can't trust the.
Yeah.
No one can be trusted.
No
What
one
a
can be
surprise.
trusted.
Well, and what's sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but in terms of characters we can't trust, we can now it's most of the characters, right? Like we don't really know Subaru's backstory yet, and the fact that he has this connection with the witch means that that's going to come up again, right? That's important. We don't know Amelia's backstory. Rosewall, kind of he's shown a little bit more of his true colors in this episode.
Yeah.
And we also learned that the maid, Frederica.
Yeah, Frederica.
Right. So we were speculating because she says something like, she mentions a master that she has, I think, in the first or second episode, whatever episode she's in. I think it's the first one. We were wondering, is that Rosewall? Is that somebody else? It now seems kind of apparent that it isn't Rosewall.
Yeah.
At least to me. It seems like she serves some other person we haven't met.
Yeah. Because, like, there's a whole thing where, like, when Amelia is undergoing the trial again, where Garfield says that he doesn't like Frederica, and he says her excuse about not being able to tell Subaru anything sounds just like her damn master.
Now, is it just implied that they're like siblings or relatives or something, just based on their appearance, or have they actually? I don't remember if it actually.
I don't know, but I mean, they both have the sharp teeth, so I suppose it is possible.
The sharp teeth and the yellow hair.
But
green eyes, right?
Ooh, green eyes! I didn't notice that. If
thought
that's
they had
correct,
green
that
eyes.
will also be.
Yeah, like, and it's also interesting because it begs the question, because, like, if Garfield is half-blooded, then is Frederica half-blooded too? And if she is, then why is she not trapped in the sanctuary?
No, for sure.
What happened there? Right?
Yeah. How did she escape the? Maybe it has something to do with his master. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, Rom also gives Subaru a warning, and says that there are residents in the sanctuary who don't want the sanctuary to be freed. And as a result of that Subaru needs to, keep a careful watch of Amelia, because there might be people who would want to hurt Amelia because she's trying to free the sanctuary, and they don't want the sanctuary freed.
And my brain immediately went, well, there's the premise for the new arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can agree with that, but like, I feel like this arc is gonna get into some complex territory based on how it ended, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But because it seems like this whole arc is not gonna take place within the sanctuary.
Yeah.
But so when Garfield or when Amelia is undergoing the trial, Garfield also says something that I found really interesting, which maybe, I mean, you guys can tell me your take on this. I'm thinking that maybe we're not supposed to know yet, and it'll be explained later. But while she's undergoing the trial, Garfield makes a comment where he says, "We don't want a short nap for a Morlock to be a whole day's sleep for the rest of us."
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that line.
Yeah, and it's like, what the hell does that mean?
Yes, context, please.
Yeah.
The show does a lot of, like, giving you a hint of the thing without really explaining it, and just kind of leaving you hanging for a while before maybe getting back to that at some point.
It usually does, especially when we get to the end of the episode.
Yeah, so, in any case, Amelia returns in tears, because she failed again. And then Subaru has this major talk with Rosewall.
Yes.
And this was kind of a, like, I think for a long time, right? Basically throughout all of season 1, I think we were all going like, what's Rosewall's deal? Like, he keeps just fucking off in the worst at the worst possible times, right?
Well, at least we know now that's by intention.
Yeah, that is 100% by intention. Rosewall deliberately made it so that the witch's cult attack would happen, and that he wouldn't be there for it. That way Amelia and Subaru could take all the credit and build Amelia's reputation for the royal selection. And so... And
Subaru's credit, too.
And this is really interesting because... So now we have been given a little more insight into Rosewall after, a whole season of being like, what's his deal?
What's his deal? Yeah.
And now we've gotten a little bit more of his deal, but, like, at least in my opinion, a good show with a lot of depth that just kind of feeds you little tidbits bit by bit. Um, it answers one question and then poses another.
Yeah.
Those are several, I would
Poses
say.
several others, which Subaru asks, and the core one is, how could you trust me with that? I was freaking useless. Like, I only just recently became less useless. How
Yeah.
could you trust me to make things work out with such a really nasty situation? And Rosewall's response is, I had faith. Subaru is like, why? Why did you have faith in me? Why did you have faith that I could do this? And Rosewall declines to answer.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Which
where I
makes-
call bullshit.
Which makes me wonder
Does he
if
know?
Rosewall is involved in Subaru's summoning somehow.
That's actually very good. I hadn't
It's a
quite
thought,
made that
yeah.
leap, but yeah, no, because he definitely knows. I mean, even Rem and Ram can smell the witch's scent on Subaru. I'm sure Rosewall can as well, right? He absolutely knows that Subaru has some connection to the witch, right?
Yeah.
And he probably knows a little bit more than even they do about that, right?
Mhm.
But
I think Rosewell's
was
even
he
banking
actually-
on it.
Well, yeah, I
Just-
think.
I'm not sure if he knows explicitly what's happening with Subaru. I'm not even sure if he even cares. But it's like, I smell the witch on you. You're useful whether you know that you're actually useful or not. And whatever you happen to do just happens to work out. Well, let's put it to the test, shall we? Let me arrange a royal snafu and let's see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's a royal snafu.
Keyword
yes.
on keyword on that.
Quite literally. But it makes me wonder if, because, right, maybe he smells the witch's presence on Subaru. Maybe Subaru has an affinity, at least a little bit, we've seen, for shadow magics and stuff. It seems like he's got some hitherto unknown power in him. But in order to entrust him with, killing a giant whale,
Mhm.
smoky whale, and saving the mansion from evil cultists that respawn and reincarnate or whatever, that seems like a lot for a guy that makes big clouds of dark smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot
So-
for a dude that Amelia just randomly picked up on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if he knows about the respawn mechanic.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting that feeling that he knows some of if he's not involved in Subaru's summoning, at the very least he probably knows that Subaru has some kind of power that makes it so that he always comes out
On
victorious.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which, considering, might be all he really needs to know and or cares about.
Yeah, we still don't fully know what his motivations are. He said he wants to slay a dragon, right?
Yeah, he wants to slay the dragon that is contracted with Lagunica and is keeping the this kingdom prosperous, I guess.
Which
Yeah.
begs the question, why does he want to kill the dragon that is connected to the royal family? Hasn't the royal family in this universe been getting sick or dying or mysteriously, that's the whole reason we're having this royal
the royal
selection?
family's dead.
Yeah,
They're all
Like-
gone.
They all got sick and died.
but they all died. It seemed like under mysterious and rather sudden
A
circumstances.
little bit, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if he's not up to his eyeballs in that too, I don't know who else would be.
I'm willing to
Yeah.
bet that he probably is, or if he didn't know what was happening, he didn't stop it if he did. He probably was like,
Yeah.
here, let me show you the secret sewer entrance to the absolute most undefended point in this castle. Don't mind me if I just accidentally drop it here on my way out the door.
Oops, clumsy me, dropped the sewer key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's it's I guess it's nice to get a little more about Rosewall, but now I just have more questions about Rosewall.
Of course,
Yeah. Well,
if you left
I
with
have
if you left with less questions than answers, then he didn't do his job.
well, see, I have questions now about the origins of our demon maids, right? Because basically Roswell says, "Oh yeah, I like let the cultists attack the castle and let a bunch of people die in a battle with a whale."
Okay.
And Ram says, "Well, I condone everything he's done, even if he sacrificed me. Like, I'm cool with it." And then Subaru brings up her sister, and she's like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, that's a heart-wrenching moment. Like, you don't even remember your twin. He doesn't even bring it up. It's like, that's your twin, idiot.
They had the whole story about the ogres and nope, doesn't remember any of it.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't remember.
But yeah, it's what her deal with Rosewall is. I want to know. Like, what did he do for the sisters that makes them so dang loyal to him?
Yeah. Like I'm very much curious about that too. And like and Rom in particular is like extra loyal to him. And we know that like they have their like I guess mana rejuvenation nights or whatnot.
Cuddle sessions?
Yeah, like that they do. And we still don't that still hasn't been fully explained exactly what that is yet.
I mean,
We can
in
imply.
that she's acting as his spy,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably some other weird things going on there too, but
well, you'll notice that Rom never leaves Rosewall for long periods of time, whereas Rem can.
Yeah.
Like, so it's definitely led me to think that whatever Rosewall is doing to Rom during those like late night spy cuddle sessions.
Yeah,
somehow...
those always made me like, I want a whole episode about what's going on with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you vaguely uncomfortable, I don't.
Yeah. Like it definitely makes me think that like there's something that's happening there that Rom can't survive without.
Yeah.
So
that might also explain.
Can relate. Everybody needs cuddles.
Well, fair enough. I was also under the impression that Rom was also more the responsible one in comparison to Rem. Rem is at least tended to be somewhat more emotional, more adventurous, and in general, like more willing to be outgoing than Ram, who is.
You really do need to rewatch season 1.
Yeah, it does. It's that evident, huh?
Rem does all of Rom's work.
Really.
Well, and I think that's another thing. Like too, if Rosewall is really just like he just did something for Ram, and that was it, Rem would probably have just gone along with that because her whole arc like revolves around her sister.
Yeah.
And like her redemptive, like, oh, my sister lost her horn, so now I have to be. She was like the weaker one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I remembering this correctly? She's like the weaker of the two, and then her sister was like wounded, lost her horn, and now she has to be the strong one.
Correct.
And so she's constantly like, I'm never good enough. I'm never as good as my sister was. Like I'm half the demon that she ever was, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So if Rosewall did something for Rem would probably be like, well, sign me up.
Yeah. So, like, I guess, yeah, there's some stuff there that I want to know about, and yeah, like, Rom and Rosewall being attached at the hip, I find very interesting, and is one other thing that I would like to know more about. Now, let's see. I'm just looking through my notes here. So Amelia continues to seem reserved about attempting the trial again, but Subaru continues to give her encouragement. And then Garfield, or sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say he gives her encouragement, but it's kind of like I don't think he fully understands what he's
No.
asking her to do.
He doesn't. I don't think he does either. Um,
Uh,
and Garfield agrees to letting the villagers go since Amelia is already within the barrier, and so the villagers are no longer useful as leverage because Amelia is here now and she needs to get out. So, you
Yeah.
know, she has to break the barrier,
Mhm.
whether the villagers are there or not. So, Subaru is going back with the villagers. He's responsible for seeing the villagers back. And while Amelia is going to stay behind and continue to try to undergo the trial. Oh, another thing that we found was that you can't lose your right to undergo the trial.
Yeah.
You can
Good
do
be
that.
it.
as many times as you like,
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't kill you.
As long as it doesn't kill you, yeah.
That's fair.
Yep.
And so, Rom gives him a piece of advice about confronting Frederica, because now he's got some questions regarding, like because of the stuff that Garfield said, and
Well, on this stuff, I mean, even Ram told him you got to be careful of her too.
right,
She's not necessarily on our side.
yeah,
Or your side. Or there's so many political factions in this. Like we got Rosewall doing his thing. We got all the other royal candidates. Beatrice is kind of her own entity.
Mhm.
There's Puck and Amelia. We got the witch cult. We got
Yeah.
just like so many different, and nobody is quite on the same side. It's more just like, oh, at the moment our interests are aligned, so we'll help each other out. But
yeah,
so Frederica's another like wild card. We don't know whose side she's on.
yeah, exactly. And so, essentially, Rom gives Subaru this piece of advice where she says, if you're worried about having to face Frederica, turn to Beatrice Sama and tell her this.
Oh yeah.
Rosewall Sama said to ask the question. And apparently, when Beatrice Sama hears these words, everything will change. That's what Rosewall said. So
She'll know what the question is.
yes, she'll know what this question is.
I'm
Which
excited.
is mighty
for
convenient from a
Beatrice.
plot writing standpoint. But
Yup.
keeps us in suspense as the audience, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, clearly Rosewall has been plotting this shit for a very long time. So, it's
Mhm.
curious to see what that is all about. But as they're on their way back, Garfield confronts Subaru about his undergoing the trial, and he poses this thought to Subaru that maybe, just maybe, Amelia doesn't want to face her past.
Yeah, it's a thought.
It's a thought that hasn't occurred to Subaru at this point, up until this
Yeah.
point.
No.
And he's like, and Subaru's like, oh shit, like, I didn't really think about that.
Never considered.
And Garfield also gives Subaru this crystal thing and tells him that if push comes to shove, he should show it to Frederica. So now we've got a bunch of people who are telling Subaru how to deal with Frederica, or if she becomes a problem.
You seeing a boss fight in the future?
Yeah,
Totally
right?
not setting her up to be a problem at all.
Yeah.
Watch her not be though. Watch everyone keep doing that. Like that'd be the ultimate plot twist. She's just like, "What are you talking about? I'm great."
Yeah.
And he's just like, "I don't know. I just thought you'd be an asshole. Everybody kept telling me you were gonna be an asshole." And she's like, "What the fuck?" Like everyone's just pranking her.
Just a
Well-
practical joke.
Also, given what's going on, are they going to remember saying that she's an asshole?
It's true.
Mm.
Well, it's also,
That's
I think,
true.
telling
We're probably maybe we'll get some more Deathy boys because yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue. We'll talk about
Yeah.
that later.
Yeah, it's definitely
That
definitely
happened.
not.
That
That's the
happened.
thing, but I think it's telling that Rosewall in particular doesn't warn him about Frederica.
Yeah.
Everyone else does, but Rosewall doesn't.
I
That's
think
because
Rosewall just kinda
that's
trusts
because
it to work
Rosewall's
out.
over here going like Rosewall's over here having faith in Subaru, like he'll figure this shit out. I don't
Yeah,
need
he'll
to
die a couple
back.
times.
He'll die a couple
he'll get it
times, and
eventually.
he'll get it worked out. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
He'll just have massive PTSD from dying a bunch of times in horrible ways, but it's fine.
Yeah,
I
we don't
mean-
know what therapy is here.
I
We'll
mean,
just
so
rough it
long,
out.
so long as I live long enough to get out of these fucked up mummy wrappings, it's all good.
And get back into my jester cloak, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Uh,
Subaru returns to the mansion.
Oh
Finds
boy.
it empty. He runs
Is it?
around in a panic, looking around for others. He
it's almost like we've seen this before.
I
with
think he was actually
Yeah.
running towards
Shaving.
Rem's room, right?
Yes, he was.
he was running towards Rem's room. And so yeah, he's running around looking for Rem, and instead he finds his bowels outside of his body.
He
Yeah.
trips over his own guts, and he's like,
In a
"That's
twist
weird."
of events, who could do such a thing? What name could someone that would commit such a specific act even have?
It's the Bowel Hunter. Bowel
What?
Hunter's back, my boys.
What?
Called it.
I am
I
so
mean-
excited to see her again because I know this show, man. Like, this show does not set anything up that it does not have every intention of having return and come back and paying off. So
Yep.
when she was like, "You'll be seeing me again," I was like, "We're gonna be fucking seeing her again."
Oh yeah,
She's not lying.
She's not lying.
but
Some
she's
Jackass
back,
gun going on.
and it looks like Subaru kept his organs in good condition.
Excellent.
he
How
kept his
courteous
promise.
of him.
Yeah. So
Real nice of him.
Which, I mean, I was kind of wondering when that was gonna happen, right? Because it was like, there's no, like, it's been a while since he's died, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
time for him to
There's
die.
There's an internal clock that starts ticking on this show, and you're just like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't
I
died
think.
in a
Where do you
couple
think the
episodes.
check mark? Because I think it's going to keep him, doing the trial and reliving his past. I think he's going to wake up next to Amelia, like when she's sleeping.
Oh, see, that is one question I had, is like, we don't know where the checkpoint's gonna be yet, and the checkpoint is
Yeah.
really gonna determine what Subaru can and cannot do.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to
But
hazard
yeah, that's
a
my
guess.
guess for the checkpoint because
You
it
think it's
seems
gonna be
like
next to
it
Amelia?
seems like a good place. Yeah, right when she's asleep and has the cute scene where she reaches for him.
Mhm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like, I don't think that he's gonna. Yeah, I think the checkpoint will probably be after he underwent the first trial.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
a good spot because after that he has to redo the trial or choose not to take the trial and then go through all this crap. Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. Is the witch going to remember that conversation that they had if it is before the trial?
No, it's definitely not going to be before the trial.
I mean, fair enough. I don't think it is going to be either, but it'd be an interesting question.
I'd be pretty convinced. I'd be pretty sure that she would actually remember. I mean, given that she's got
Yeah.
all witchy powers, and
That's fair. That's fair.
it just
Yeah.
seems to make sense to me. I don't know.
That,
Maybe
that
not.
seems like a pretty easy thing to like. Yeah, of course she remembers. How could she not? She's a
Yeah.
witch.
I mean, she's a witch, but she did get eaten by the Witch of Envy, so maybe like, I don't know. The Witch of Envy is like the superior witch. I don't know.
I would not necessarily
After all.
say superior, but she was definitely envious of her other 6 witches.
Yeah.
The kitten is dead, and the Witch of Envy is not. So
I mean, just all you need to kill somebody is one good stab, and they're pretty much dead.
Just a nice,
Yeah,
good
this
old
episode
stabbing.
proves.
I mean, if the only thing the Witch of Envy had over them is being better at stealth checks,
A
An
healthy
element of
dose
surprise.
of stab, if you will.
yeah, just
An unhealthy dose of stab.
an unhealthy dose of step. Yeah, but
Hmm.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I do just want to say the end of this episode, I think, this last scene was actually credit where credit's due. I like talking about the cinematography sometimes. Not that I know
Oh,
anything about
man.
cinematography, but like the blood red lighting that sort of
Hmm.
sets you like sort of the red orange glow,
Oh, yeah.
empty echoey halls, the music starts getting kind of weird and creepy at a certain point, and then they do that thing where like the camera tilts at an odd angle slowly right before he dies, and yeah, just and then like his blurred vision as he's looking down at his own guts. Yeah, like there's just a lot of good visual
Good
design
stuff.
there.
Yeah,
Good
there's
stuff.
the visual story. I mean, I think I talked about it like a few episodes prior. Like the visual storytelling in this show is fantastic. And the way they go about kind of crafting the pacing, both visually and auditorily, through things like sound design and music, and it really it hits, or I guess to maybe to quote Giga, it hits different.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Wow.
But
I mean, you're
yeah,
right though.
like it's really really good, and as somebody who like the video editing is so important to the pacing of a story, and I speak as somebody who is as a sound designer and an audio engineer whose job is to kind of put things together to flow in its final form. And if things aren't flowing visually, it becomes so much harder to make things flow from a story perspective auditorily. And whenever you receive a bad edit, you're just kind of there like, fuck, what do I do with this? Like, how do I try to mask the fact that this editing is kind of shit and try to make it seem like this flows decently well and that everything here was intentional? But then when you have something like ReZero, it's just a playground because the visual storytelling is so good, and it's just like, oh, we can do this with the audio and we can do that with the audio, and it allows so much more space to kind of craft the overall flow, auditory flow of a scene or of an episode. And all I can say is the people who are working on ReZero are really fucking good at what they do. And they are probably having so much fun working on it.
Yeah.
It's really, really great work.
It is stunning in every sense of the word.
It's real good. Ooh.
Oh god, it's back.
Well, I think we talked about ReZero, you guys.
I think we did.
We did it.
Do y'all have some predictions for maybe what will happen in the next episode?
Hot take. Subaru's gonna wake up and it's gonna go.
How could you have predicted that?
That's my prediction. I stand by it.
I see your hot take, and I raise you another hot take. I think he's gonna die at least once this next coming episode. At least.
Is it going to be horrible or just kind of mildly traumatic?
I think it'll be, he has to just go in there and get dead anyway, so he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I've screwed up somewhere. I need to go back and do this over again. Checkpoint, please.
Like,
please.
Can we just like appreciate? I was just thinking about this like just right now that like all of his deaths are getting vastly more, like progressively more complicated and more difficult to deal with. And I'm just like, and the spaces between where he dies are like getting longer and longer. And I'm just like thinking back to like the very beginning of the show when he like fucking dies in the alley, and I'm just like, boy, that really was the tutorial arc, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though if it's not going to. We're also going to see an extension of time between checkpoints as well. So it's like, how long might it be between a checkpoint and him dying? Like, if he dies and he hasn't gotten a checkpoint in what, a week, 2 weeks, a month? That's a whole month he has to go and relive before he gets back to that point. Admittedly, more time to hopefully avert a disaster, but that is a long time to just be waiting to see if you can avert the one circumstance that will lead to your demise in X days.
Which I definitely feel like his auto saves happen more frequently than that. So I don't know if we'll ever necessarily see that happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem too is that it's not just one circumstance that leads to his death, as we saw in the last sort of him dying repeatedly arc. he goes to the castle. Oh, bad stuff. Witch cult, evil, archbishop guy. That's bad. And then he's like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna not do that part. We're just gonna, we're gonna take a nice little stroll down the road, bring some carts. We're gonna bring an army, and oh shoot, there's a whale. Forgot about that. Whoops. Like, it got so much more complicated on his second go, or his third go, or whatever that was. So I wonder if this time he's gonna be like, okay, just going to the manor, not the best idea. Gonna bring some help. Okay. And then he's gonna run into some completely different unforeseen problem. Like he's gonna run into maybe this group of like the people not led by the elf gal, who don't want people to leave the sanctuary, right? And they're gonna like kill him or something, or kill Amelia or something. And this is like, oh, okay, so now I have to deal with the problem of the bowel hunter at the manor, and I gotta deal with the problem here in the sanctuary. Like it's just gonna get exponentially more complicated for him.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a funny point. If you were to actually have that happen, it's like, hey guys, please don't kill me. My death will literally be meaningless.
Damn.
I will only come back stronger.
So like, yeah, of course.
I will come back stronger, and I will thwart you. So I guess my prediction for the next episode is, I think Subaru, now that Garfield has put this thought into Subaru's mind, I think Subaru is gonna level with Amelia and have a talk and be like, hey, do you really want to do this?
I hope so. Ooh, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good scene.
Yeah, like
I like that.
I can definitely see that happening. It might be interesting to see, like, if Subaru has to redo his conversation with Rosewall, and see if, like, maybe in redoing that conversation with Rosewall, if he takes a different demeanor, he can get maybe more information out of him.
Maybe.
That would be very interesting. It makes me wonder too if he's going to decide, based on his conversation with Garfield a little bit, if he's going to decide, okay, maybe this time I'm going to try and do the trial. Maybe Amelia doesn't want to do the trial. She doesn't want to have to face her past, but I'm going to try and do it and see if that gets him killed in some new and complicated way.
Yeah.
Maybe the second trial just drives him insane until his head bursts.
He does the second trial, dies, and goes, okay, so Amelia it is.
Yeah.
May well happen.
Damn. Well, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. But I think we re-zeroed, guys.
Where can we find you, Brian?
Yeah. Y'all can find me in the KRWBY Productions Discord server. I'm also on Twitter at Hubbard Audio. I haven't been posting a whole lot. I should probably do more of that, but if you want to follow me for whenever I rarely post, you can do that. Ian, where can they find you?
You can find me at our community Discord at, my username is Ventress, and if you want to find me on Twitter, that should also be my handle there. Like Brian, I am not very much into posting, but if you at me, I will probably respond. I can make that guarantee. Maybe.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Of course.
Maybe.
We all know where they can find you. You just need to go to California and drive north into the Redwood Forest somewhere. They'll find you.
Yes, I am literally made of trees. That is how I work.
Hooray. Is there anywhere else they can find you, Forrest?
On this podcast.
Well, hell yeah. And you can find me on Twitter at KaniDayOfficial, KANIDAY official. You can find me at KRWBY and all of the good, beautiful meme stuff. Hooray! Follow all of the twat-twats. And of course, KRWBY, support us in all the ways and whatnot. Hooray!
Did you know we have a Patreon? That's
What? You shut the fuck up. There's no way.
Did you know that Patreon helps pay for everything?
I actually, I do want to plug. We have we do have a Patreon Discord server that that if you join us at, I believe, the $2 tier, you can get in there, and we have events every other Tuesday in that server, and tomorrow night I believe we're having an event, or maybe it's next
Yeah.
Tuesday. Who knows? Go find out.
Yeah, got game nights. I don't know if any of this has happened within the server yet, but I think there's also like plans to do some like script read nights and stuff. Where
Yeah, we're
a lot of
probably
voice
going to do
actors
some of
come in and
that.
do silly voices over scripts and
Yeah, right now we're just doing regular game nights, and then we have tournaments in there too, like game tournaments that Steven hosts, which are pretty cool. I think we've done a few of those. So yeah, go check out our Patreon if you'd like to maybe participate in some of that with us.
yeah, it's a good time. So yeah. In any case, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all same time here next week to talk about episode 6 of ReZero, talk about more things that we've been watching, and fucking just rip into more SAO.
Yeah, buddy. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye!
See ya.
Bye.